With the collapse of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried lost his entire net worth instantly. Bloomberg estimates Sam Bankman-Fried's net worth at zero. Well, that happened fast, but not really once we found out that he may have hidden a few $100 million in real estate. We'll get back to Sam in a minute. We're going to play a quick game called Used Car Company or Crypto Token. Based on this chart, are we looking at a publicly traded company or a crypto altcoin? It's Carvana Inu. Just kidding, it's actually a publicly traded company called Carvana. The online used car retailer based in Tempe, Arizona, known for its car vending machines, is the fastest growing online used car dealer in the United States. A year ago, the stock was trading around $268 a share, giving Carvana a market cap of around $51 billion. With the stock trading at $496 when this was filmed, the company is now worth around $937 million, representing a loss of around $50 billion in a single year. Carvana founder's fortune plunges 98% as firm burns through cash. My buddy Lucky has been telling me all year that Carvana is going to head to bankruptcy, and it looks like he was right all along. Ernie Garcia III has seen his fortune fall $6.7 billion this year to $119 million, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, a percentage decline topped only by Sam Bankman-Fried. Being included in the same sentence as Sam Bankman-Fried is definitely not a line you'd put in your dating profile right now. While Ernie Garcia III still has a net worth in the 9 figures, remember that happiness is often based on expectations. His net worth may indicate that he's successful, he's a top 0.1% entrepreneur, and he can afford anything he wants in life, but the delta between expectations and your present situation is what dictates happiness. Let me give you an example. Option A, you're given $100,000 today in cash, and you'll be handed $1,000 a day for the rest of your life. Or option B, you wake up a billionaire and your net worth decreases by $10,000 every single day. While option B of my example may sound better, option A will lead to a significantly better life mentally because you're always progressing and not facing the dread of a loss aversion every single day. Sam Bankman-Fried lost billions of dollars of his customers' funds, and rightfully so, purportedly lost 99% of his net worth overnight. Sam Bankman-Fried claimed to not care about his net worth, but his risk-taking actions in the pursuit of more wealth indicates he was actually as greedy as any human alive. Sam Bankman-Fried treated FTX like a personal fiefdom as he and a handful of associates looted the now-defunct crypto exchange's coffers to fund an epic spending spree that included a $300 million splurge on Bahamas real estate, lawyers for the company claimed. You couldn't give me enough money or real estate in the Bahamas to trade places with SBF, even though the Bahamas is beautiful. For $100 million, you can have this island. The property is 1.7 million square feet and probably big enough for a game of hide and seek played by SBF and authorities. As of early November, Mr. Bankman-Fried was worth almost $16 billion according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, making him one of the 100 richest people in the world. In March, the index valued him at around $26 billion. Sam Bankman-Fried could face years in prison over FTX's $32 billion meltdown if the US ever gets around to arresting him. SBF has recently gone on a media spree similar to someone trying to raise a bunch of money for their fund or next groundbreaking startup. In a tweet that seems satirical, Rand recommends getting FTX back running by issuing a new FTT token, and Sam seems to have agreed, stating that he thinks this would be a productive path for parties to explore. I hope that the teams in place will do so. It's such a bizarre world we live in where SBF is tweeting, enjoying a life of luxury, going on a press tour, and seemingly not worried about facing time in federal prison. Billy McFarland was a recent guest on the Nelk Boys podcast. He's well known for the fraud he committed in order to run his Fyre Festival disaster. Billy said the FBI were at his door 3 days after he returned to New York, and he served more than 4 years in jail. I'm still confused as to how SBF hasn't been detained and sent to prison while the authorities evaluate the entire story. The irony is that the Fyre Festival was held in, do you remember? The Bahamas. This tweet is highlighting how an FTX Ponzi scheme works by distributing all of the token holders' money back to creditors. Everyone will be made whole. Ponzi schemes are amazing if they never end. Magic money. The easiest way to lose 99% of your net worth overnight is by running a Ponzi scheme. Once investors or depositors begin asking for their money in large quantities, the scheme will topple. Carvana appears to be a legitimate business with no proof of running a Ponzi scheme, but they've experienced a similar fall from grace. Carvana shares tank as bankruptcy concerns grow for used car retailer. Their net loss for the first 9 months of 2022 has been over $1.4 billion, more than a 10x increase in losses from the year before. The used car market hasn't experienced its crash yet, as indicated by this Car Guru's chart. A 2 to 5% dip represents where the car market is heading, but it doesn't track with Carvana's losses. Carvana has burned through cash and is consulting with lawyers and investment bankers about options for managing its debt load, Bloomberg News reported Wednesday, citing people with knowledge of the matter. This is a company that appears to be a sinking ship, and my fear is that as the car market turns, their debt is going to become even more difficult to pay down. Apollo, PIMCO, Impact to prevent creditor brawl over Carvana. With the rise in celebrity boxing, maybe there's a place for creditor boxing boxing. Can you imagine the CEOs of major funds having to box it out for first position on a debt stack? I'd pay to watch. This is the used vehicle value index. Carvana wasn't making money on the way up. What makes you think they'll make money on the way down? Carvana only has $316 million in cash, which sounds like a lot, but isn't much for a company losing over $1 billion a year. They have $2.5 billion in vehicle inventory and $3.3 billion in their real estate, which represents 61% of their assets. Considering this is a company who hasn't turned a profit yet and most likely has overpaid for all of the cars they own, now that the market is turning, how in the world are they going to stay solvent? Even in their first SEC yearly filing in 2018, they mentioned that they haven't been profitable since their inception in 2012. Their losses increased every year starting in 2015, $36.8 million, $93.1 million, $164.3 million, and $316.9 million. Carvana is a tech company operating off algorithms in an industry that operates very much on a touch and feel basis. Lucky has been telling me that Carvana's idea of merging tech and the used car industry is a recipe for disaster, and he didn't see any way that they'd be profitable. For a company that's never been profitable, the owners sure have gotten wealthy. Back in April of this year, the CEO, Ernie Garcia, bought more shares of Carvana, which allowed us to see his total allotment of about 2.6 million shares of the stock. His personal net worth has increased to 9 figures by running this company, and they haven't ever been profitable. Please do not take this the wrong way, but increasing your net worth to $100 million while running a company that doesn't make a single dollar is an investing scheme where you're essentially borrowing money and making less back, and throughout the process enriching yourself. I'm not anti-corporation in any way, but it is fascinating how someone can take $100 million from public investors, and when the company goes bankrupt, you just walk away like nothing happened. The only people who profited were the Carvana owners, and their profit came from investors who lost an equivalent amount of money. Another entrepreneur who lost their entire net worth rather quickly was Elizabeth Holmes. At Theranos' peak, the company was valued at around $9 billion, giving Elizabeth Holmes the title of youngest female billionaire in the world. In 2014, investors were told that a new revenue stream would help generate $100 million for the year, when in reality, it only generated $100,000. While Holmes didn't technically lose her wealth overnight, it happened rather quickly. From $1 billion net worth to federal prison for a decade, the timeline happened pretty fast. Another company that's nearly lost its entire value in a year is Opendoor. I feel like real estate investors kinda knew this iBuying game wasn't going to work out, but the general public thought it was cool. A year ago, Zillow shut down its house flipping business due to many unforeseen variables. Anyone who's dealt with contractors knows that trying to flip thousands of homes at one time in different cities where you aren't already established is a recipe for disaster. Opendoor lost $928 million last quarter. They had lost $954 million in the first 9 months of 2022. Competitor Redfin in the real estate space is down 88% in the previous year. Redfin shuts home flipping business and cuts 13% of its workforce. Over the past decade, we've seen numerous tech companies thriving in an economy that did nothing but go up, because you don't need to be profitable, apparently. Opendoor was able to raise $1.9 billion for a business model that only really works when the real estate market is scorching hot and houses are selling for above list. I think more of these tech companies are going to continue getting hit hard as the economy turns and the unsustainability of their unprofitable business model becomes an urgent problem. It's always blown my mind how some CEOs can make $100 million while running a company that is never profitable. Imagine having a business model where you buy $30,000 cars, sell them for $28,000, raise some money to buy more, and then when the company finally goes bankrupt, you walk away with $120 million. I'm not calling it fraud because it isn't, and I understand that a new business model sometimes doesn't work out, but it's not exactly too far off from just taking funds from public investors, right? SBF stole money plain and simple and deserves to be jailed and forced to pay restitution for the rest of his life. Billy McFarland did the same, just on a smaller scale, and he was jailed and forced to pay restitution. Elizabeth Holmes, same thing. When the market turns, unfortunately, people lose a lot of money, customers lose money, investors lose money, and the owners just lose whatever they didn't park in real estate in the Bahamas. Thanks for watching.